Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Jimmy Wolf Talks episode and another album battle. We love our album battles. And this one is it's going to be America versus Canada, kind of like the recent news here. And the two bands we have pitted against each other are two post-grunge bands, or at least transitional post-grunge bands. Our Lady Peace versus Collective Soul. And this is going to be their
Jimmy, why are we choosing these two?
well, it was your idea, and the reason was because we're going to go see them, both bands, in the summer coming up. So that was what sparked this. But yeah, these bands are actually quite evenly aligned in their career paths, and so yeah, Our Lady Peace is the Canadian band from Toronto, Ontario, and Collective Soul is from Atlanta.
Are Our Lady Peace not from Ottawa, Jimmy?
That's a good question. I thought they were Toronto, but let's see here. Our Lady Peace. Okay, so they were formed in Toronto, Ontario.
Okay.
Unless maybe one or two of them were from Ottawa. Yep, no, it's saying Toronto.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so these are their sophomore records. Both were very successful. Both were a little more successful than the debuts, but their both debuts were also very successful too. But I think these were kind of, I would say that both sophomore records were the peak of both bands. I don't think the bands died off necessarily, but you know, they never did anything bigger than these two records, as far as I can tell. Maybe Our Lady Peace did, but I don't think so. And in this era too, Our Lady Peace did very well in Canada, but I don't think they did. I don't think Clumsy uh, did that well in the States. So they're kind of like the tragically hip, where they stayed local. Collective Soul did very well, triple platinum, I think, in the States. So nothing to.
It says right here, Jimmy, triple platinum.
There you go. Right, you got it.
Collective
Hey,
Soul wouldn't lie to us, right? It's right on the record.
nope, nope. It's right there. That's actually really funny that they put that on the record. That's funny.
It says 25th anniversary edition of the triple platinum selling album. So they're
Okay.
obviously pretty proud of it.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna pit these two records against each other. They're both very good. So for me, it was a close call, but I definitely have a clear winner in my mind after several listens for both records. So what do you say, Jeff? You want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Well, Jimmy, I usually do go first. We save your opinion for last.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. One album has 12. The Collective Soul has 12 songs. The Our Lady Peace record has 11 songs. Uh, you know what? You're right. This was a close call. I very much remember both of these growing up. I would have been a young man in those days, 16, 16 years old when these records came out, 16, 17, maybe. I think Clumsy was 95 or 96. And the self-titled Collective Soul was 95, I think. So,
Yeah. So a little sooner.
yeah,
But
16, maybe 17, 18, whatever.
yeah.
So if we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of it, I like every song on both these albums. Like, there's no duds. And to be perfectly honest, they really, if you're going to argue about each band's greatest hits, like they're the greatest songs they ever made, both of these records have both these bands' absolute best material on it ever. So uh, I gotta say, "The World I Know," December, uh, those are the two best songs the Collective Soul ever did. Gel was also a big one. I like Reunion. Well, usually most albums close out with a really good tune, so that's pretty standard. Uh, I also like Simple. I like how the album starts off. Um, the rest of the stuff is decent, but nothing mind blowing. Certainly the singles. I mean, the label got it right. The singles were the best things on the album. Uh, in terms of Clumsy, I feel like it's very. You know how you said the Joshua Tree is very front loaded.
Hmm.
I feel like the Clumsy is very much like that too. Uh,
Yeah, I agree too.
it
Yeah.
starts off real strong. Superman's Dead, Automatic Flowers. Clumsy's track number 7 out of 11, but I feel the album wanes a bit towards the end. However, I like the cover of the. Let me see if I can get this. The cover of the Our Lady Peace album is much better than the. Definitely a weak point on the art tip for Collective Soul.
Yeah, they kind of skimped out on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they get? Somebody's son to draw this?
Well,
shitty artwork.
like it looks like a greatest hits, like a throwaway, like greatest hits, like album cover or something.
It looks like a B-side compilation album, is what it looks
Yeah,
like.
yeah, it doesn't look like
Something that didn't get a lot of. Definitely, they didn't get the big budget they were hoping for. Anyway, my vote is for Clumsy, for sure. Even though the only thing that was close is because I find both albums very, very listenable. But again, both these records are the ones that I like to listen to best from both these bands.
Yeah.
But the Our Lady Peace one has, even though it's front loaded, and the songs towards the end of the album are the ones I like the least. I mean, Superman's Dead, Automatic Flowers, 4 a.m., and Clumsy, Let You Down. Those are some of the best songs they ever wrote. By a landslide. And, Naveed had some good ones too. When you were talking about their creative zenith, the next album about the fish sappiness is not a fish you can catch, okay. The one after that, Spiritual Machines, I didn't like. Our Lady Peace came back with a big hit, though, with Gravity in 2002, I think. Big success for them and very good album. Kind of a return to form.
Yep. Yep.
But also Collective Soul had a good album called Youth in 2004, which I don't really think it was a hit for them, but it was a very good album. So in terms of their career paths, I think these two are very evenly matched. The playing is great on both. I also like the comparison of these two bands because both singers are a bit of an acquired taste. I had a bit of a hate on for Rain Maida for a long time. His vocal is something that is difficult, or it takes some time to get used to, and I didn't like it for the longest time. And the same could be said a little bit of Collective Soul with the Mega Well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the fact is I've come to very much like the singing of both those guys. Just so happens Clumsy is the better album in my books. What say you, Jimmy?
Okay, yeah, that's good. A good breakdown. Yeah, so for me, both these records were huge parts of my growing up. Clumsy, especially. I remember all those videos on Much Music, like Automatic Flowers, Superman's Dead. It was a big deal when those songs came out. Clumsy was a great video as well. Yeah, I had the CD for Clumsy for sure. I had that for when it first came out. I grabbed it right away. Yeah, produced by Arnold Lanni, who's a local producer. It sounds really good. Very creative. Creative production. Kind of like has kind of some of that kind of weird Beatlesy stuff in the production. Like kind of harkens back to like psychedelic like '60s kind of sounds, or like over top of the grunge thing, which is really cool. Probably my favorite song on the whole record is Carnival. I love Carnival. I love it when the chorus comes in. Just I love that chorus. Um, yeah, 4 a.m.'s good too. I agree with you. Some of the songs near the end of the record get a little throwaway, like "Hello Oscar" and "Let You Down," "Story of 100 Isles." Like they're okay, but I like "Car Crash" though. I think that outro song is really cool. Like I love it when this band goes slow. It's, they do a great job of that. Um, I guess yeah. So I guess my only criticism with the this band in general is I find yeah, Rain's voice gets a little grating. It's kind of like it works, but it's not really likable. It's like Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins, right? Like it functions well within the band, but I don't think you'd see Billy Corgan or Rain Maida on a list of you know top 20 singers.
Sometimes I think he can ham it up a little too much, like with the why, I.
Yeah, it looks good though. Like he gives a good visual when he's doing that. Like he looks good while he's doing that. Like he looks kind of like a little bit manic, and it kind of suits the music. But yeah, for sure, it's kind of put on. The other thing, this this is not a super obvious thing, but I do get the sense that this band kind of maybe takes themselves a little too seriously. I find like when I'm hearing the music, I find that um, it's not a huge like criticism, but yeah, I do find that they're kind of taking themselves really seriously. I kind of like it when rock bands don't do that when there's like a little bit of yeah we're just having fun, we're just a rock band at the end of the day, right? But I don't know, I get this vibe that Our Lady Peace is they're really serious about what they do. Not a huge criticism, but it's there. Okay, now the Collective Soul record. Yeah, so I think this album is a massive step up from their debut. Their debut.
What is it that I said about their debut album, Jimmy?
Well, you told me that right before I started recording this podcast. Yeah, I think the production sucks on the first album. And they really stepped it up on this one. Um, I really do get the feeling that Collective Soul was like one of the main bands that brought us into post grunge. Like when I think of like Creed and Nickelback, I feel like Collective Soul really was the band that broke down the barrier for that, where it's elements of grunge, but it's more radio friendly rock and roll. That's kind of what I think of Collective Soul, but they do it really well. I love the production on this album is great. The drums sound killer. I love the space that the band puts in all these songs. They're very simple. I feel like the first song was called Simple, right? Which I get that feeling like Collective Soul is a simple band, right? Nothing complicated, just exactly what you need. And there's kind of there's epicness to all their music. Whereas when you listen to Our Lady Peace, there's a lot more going on, a lot more creativity within the record. But when you listen to Collective Soul, it's like there's hardly anything going on, but it cuts that much more because there's nothing going on, which is what I love about it. Yeah, of course, like December was the big one. That was huge. Gel is a lot of fun. Kind of reminds me of Big Bang Baby by Stone Temple Pilots. It's kind of going a bit more in that pop direction, Yeah, The World I Know is awesome. I love Bleed and Reunion. Where the River Flows is heavy. Like that groove is so sick. I also just love the southern rock kind of like elements that are kind of sprinkled throughout this record. That's really great. I love the guitar player. So that's a big thing. With Ross Childress is kind of quasi shredding on this record, which I love. It's a lot of fun. I don't get that on the Our Lady Peace album. Mike Turner's a great player, but he never really solos. So I do love a good guitar solo. So Collective Soul has that. Yeah. So you know what, Jeff, I'm gonna probably disagree with you. I'm gonna go with Collective Soul on this one.
It's a split decision, folks.
Split decision. Yeah, yeah. I think this album just cuts better. I can blast it on my stereo. It cuts through better. I think the songs are just slightly more memorable. Are they better songs? Not necessarily. I think Our Lady Peace is more creative. But yeah, I just think this album is just something that I'd probably put on in the car and just crank it. And yeah, I don't get the sense that this band isn't taking themselves as seriously, and I like that, just that kind of carefree vibe about this record. Like Gel too, right? I feel like doing a song like Gel shows that the band is just having fun. Like I don't think they did Gel to prove anything. It's like they probably just did Gel because it was probably like a more commercial sounding song, which I kind of like that, and I think that's kind of I think that's lacking in some of the. Well, I get that with Nickelback too, which is what I like about Nickelback. Is I don't think Nickelback takes themselves seriously, either. I think they just know that they're a rock band and they're just having fun. Creed, I think Creed takes themselves a little too seriously. But
well, I have to say, Jimmy, Nickelback certainly took themselves very seriously at the beginning, right?
Did they? Okay.
And once they got to worldwide superstardom, then they started to take themselves a little less seriously.
Okay.
But I gotta say, it is a pretty for bands. Like I agree with what you're saying. I think Our Lady Peace never takes the piss out of themselves. However, I respect that because they bring an attitude. You mentioned this too about like a Bush Nirvana thing. Bush very serious.
Yeah.
Nirvana not so much.
Yeah.
But like, what a great gig. You basically, for a living, like for a guy like me that I break my balls every day. These guys, they get to go hang out at a recording studio and like tinker around with things and then come out with a product that somebody else sells for you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you have a pretty charmed life. And therefore, I think you should take yourself very seriously because the finished product that you're putting out there for the world is going to be sold and you want to put out a good product. So I respect that attitude. I also kind of like you said, I do appreciate the attitude too when people are like, fuck it, let's just throw this spaghetti to the wall and see what sticks, or people that just go in and they have some fun with it. But I kind of think that I would be more Our Lady Peace if I had talent because
yeah. Well, and
I would want what I'm doing to be memorable and to stand the test of time. But most importantly, I would want the thing that I'm selling you to not be shite. And, the record label is going to sell, like if they invest that much money in your record, shite or not, they're going to sell it hard. So I would want my contribution to that to be that you, the customer, are not going to get a crappy product, which is why I would take everything I do in the studio seriously, like not waste time, not fuck around, not do bullshit throwaway songs. It would be serious for me. And
well, so, and like what I was saying to you, Jeff, like I'm not saying that like a band should not take their careers like seriously. It's more just the attitude in the music coming across. So yeah, it's like I think bands should absolutely take their careers like seriously and work hard at them for sure. It's more just the attitude or just the vibe I get from the music. It's not like Collective Soul probably put more money into their record too, right? And they might have even spent more time on it. But just the attitude of the songs the attitude feels carefree to me. But I'm not saying a band should be like a punk rock band and just kind of piss away their career and not work hard. No, everyone should work hard, period. But yeah, I just it's more just in the attitude of the music, maybe, or like it's like Phil Collins, for instance, right? Like Phil Collins might be the hardest working guy of the 80s, yes. Right? But when you listen to, and Phil really took his music seriously, but when you listen to his music, it doesn't have a highbrow. Like I would say Phil Collins falls into the camp where he doesn't really take his art seriously. Like he does, but it's more just fun. It's a carefree.
He called the song Studio, for God's sakes, right? That's not even a real fucking word.
Well, yeah. But yeah, absolutely, he takes his career seriously, 100%. Yeah. Whereas a guy like Peter Gabriel, he seems like he takes his music very seriously. But I think both artists work very hard. I think both artists are very talented and successful. But yeah, it really depends on on what you're trying to get out of it. Um, for me, like '90s music, I just like the carefree attitude of like Oasis, for instance, has a carefree vibe to their music. Like you know, um, now whether or not they pissed away their career, I don't know. I think they probably worked really hard too, but uh,
Well, that's a good example, Jimmy, because Oasis worked for a band that people counted out. I mean, they put out 7 albums in a 15-year career. So that's that's a lot of recorded output. 7 studio albums and a B-sides album. Like that's a lot of material. Constantly touring. There was no lags in there. They didn't take 4 years off ever. Um, in fact, speaking of Collective Soul, the guitar player that you mentioned that you liked so much, I remember reading an interview with the band, and they said they were talking about like celebrity and like or fame and their career and the trajectory that their career took. And has fame changed you? And the guitar player said something to the effect of like, not really. And he noticed like that his career was on an upward trajectory when they got their record deal, he really didn't think much of it. He's like, well, at least now we get to write some songs and probably record them. But he'd been recording for a while, and all of a sudden they're recording he said in 1 month they went from playing shit gigs to recording material in quality recording studios. And then one day he showed up to do the video for Shine, which was going to be the lead single for the first album. And he's like, we're talking professional video shoot here. Like they had a makeup lady and like, guys were there to like they were people adjusted the lighting and things like that. And he's like, that would never happen like in the year before or whatever. So he said, all of a sudden we're a big deal. But now you're a big deal. You got to show and prove. You got to earn the respect of your fans. You got to keep playing. You got to keep gigging hard. Your next album has to be better than the first one. So it is interesting to that aspect of fame would be an interesting thing to live through, and especially because both these bands, for sure, at this era of their career, were definitely in that mold. They were radio staples. They were entering the next phase of their chapter with their sophomore records. A lot more money, big budgets, big videos, massive promotion, bigger gigs. So, yeah, it was a good comparison. I think Collective Soul were maybe a little older and a little more seasoned in terms of being in terms of players. Because I seem to think Our Lady Peace, even like they were young when Naveed came out. I think they were maybe not teenagers, but I seem to think they were all fairly young, early 20s for sure. So, not to say that age has anything to do with how you handle celebrity.
Yeah.
Music is always a young man's game anyway. And whether Collective Soul were older or younger, they were all in their 20s anyway. So,
yeah, it seems like Ed Roland was a little bit older than everyone. Like he was born in 663. So,
he would have been 30 something when this album was
yeah, made. Yeah. And I don't know about his brother, Dean. I'm not quite sure. The rest of the guys seemed like they're kind of the same age as Our Lady Peace. So I think it's really just Ed was the older one. But yeah, there kind of is a bit of maturity to the Collective Soul album too, though. It just sounds like, it does sound a little bit more mature for some reason. Yeah, maybe that's the whole thing too. It's like maybe it's like because Our Lady Peace had a lot to prove. I think as you get older, you don't really have to prove as much. You just kind of do it. You just kind of work hard and just do what you do.
I
Um,
agree with that too. I think for sure, and maybe it was because the Canadian rock mantle was firmly placed on their shoulders after Navid. They were going to have to be the flag bearers, and really that whole grunge movement in early '90s. Canada saw no part of that at all. There
Not
was
really.
nothing. We
No.
maybe, and I guess if you're gonna maybe piggyback Econoline Crush, I mean, I guess you could say that were they had something to do with it, but certainly not like when Navid hit, they were like, this is Canadian rock. These are the hip had nothing to do with grunge music at all. They were just, they were
Yeah, they were already kind of
rock and
happening in
roll.
the '80s. Yeah, yeah,
Uh, but Our Lady Peace were the new flag bearers of a new generation. And so, yeah, I think maybe they did have more to prove. There was a lot more riding on their shoulders than if Collective Soul were to. In fact, to be perfectly honest, Collective Soul could have just put out another one of their debut shit albums, and they could have either put December, World I Know, or Gel on that album, and the rest of it filler, and it still would have done well because either one of those songs was enough to propel an album. Uh, you know, because if it propelled the first one, it would certainly propel the second one too. Odds are, but it's good to know that at least Collective Soul didn't rest on their laurels, and they're like, well, maybe we hold back one of these tunes. They it really does seem to me like they had a budget, they used it, they made the best material possible. It just so happens that they had three or four massive, massive tunes, and the rest of the songs that weren't singles were still really good too. That I'm sure they look back on that one and they're really proud. And Our Lady Peace as well. I think Our Lady Peace can look back to their early to mid '90s output and be like, for sure, those were our finest albums, 100%. Uh, I don't know how much these bands love the albums that they made after them, but I certainly see those two as the zenith of these guys' careers.
for sure.
Uh,
Now, what if Collective Soul had Dosage as their album cover for Collective Soul? Because Dosage is a great album cover. That's a sick album cover.
it was a great album cover. I like the title Dosage. I also love the title Disciplined Breakdown. Uh,
Yeah, I just think
and let's be honest, the Our Lady Peace album name, Happiness is Not a Fish You Can Catch, is amongst the worst album titles of all time.
yeah, yeah. It's a confusing long title. Well, same with the first Collective Soul album. That's a very confusing title too, right? Hints, allegations, and things left unsaid.
Hey, it's got a ring
It's
to
better
it.
than Happiness is a yeah, whatever. But yeah, yeah,
It's got a ring to it. And you know what? The first Collective Soul album cover too, it's just stupid. The cartoon man with the
yeah.
looks like Humpty Dumpty or something like that. Like it's just fucking weird. I don't like it. And I remember when we picked this topic, and I was like, geez, I guess I got to go back and listen to that first Collective Soul because that's the one album I don't have from them from the '90s. And I listened to it. I was like, man, this album is awful.
Yeah.
It's like, or I guess I shouldn't say awful because nothing. I don't think Collective Soul have done anything I find truly awful. But it's like it's average.
Yeah,
When I heard it, I was like, there's nothing terribly memorable on it.
it just sounded like an indie record. It didn't really sound like a huge rock and roll band. Like it didn't have, which I think they obviously that helped with their budgets on the second album, and they obviously could do a proper record.
Well, the songwriting itself, I didn't think was that great either. Like, there's just nothing. Maybe you're right too, because they're a simple band and they write simple songs. None of their lyrics are terribly out of this world, but yeah, just
Yeah,
yeah, it was,
yeah.
it's
Definitely
it's a boring record to me, like something I don't ever need to own or listen to. So,
no, fair enough. Yeah, cool. All right, Jeff, that was a good one.
split decision, Jimmy, right down the middle.
Decision. Split decisions are good too because it probably means that it was a good matchup. Both albums
And
were
both
books.
records have merit to them.
That's true.
So
That's true. All right. Well, yeah, we'll definitely have to do an episode of our of the concert experience. Maybe we'll do a shootout of which band did better at the gig.
let's just hope Collective Soul doesn't play their first album in its entirety.
They'll probably play Shine. Shine as their own.
They would have to for sure. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right, Jeff. Sounds good. We'll.
all right, Jimmy, I look forward to hearing what your next topic is.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll let you know by tomorrow.
Wonderful. Have a good weekend, buddy.
Okay. See ya.
Take care.